Hey guys, welcome back to the cabin. I'm Robbie.
Norton.
Hey, I know you guys. We told you that we was gonna have Tori back this week on this episode to speak with Terry on some things. She got some things came up, didn't she, Norman? She had something she
Yeah,
had to do.
she had a little artwork to go do.
Yeah, and we still don't have Johnny. He's still busy working, but we do have Terry back with us today. How you doing today, Terry?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
You ready to tell us some stories?
I'm ready whenever you are.
All right. Well, let's just get into this. Tell us what you got, Terry.
Well, the the house I used to live in, which I no longer live there now, I moved since my dad passed away. We decided to sell the house. Has always had some activity per se, paranormal activity go on inside the house. Ever since I was a child, you could hear footsteps throughout the house and nothing be there. The walls would start shaking and dishes would fall off the walls just unexplained. Once I got in my teenage years, I was so used to it, I didn't pay attention to it until I started getting older and then started getting into doing some paranormal activity, investigation, and started doing some studies, got my demonology certificate and some paranormal certificates, and decided to go out and start doing paranormal investigations, and then started noticing, the stuff still happening in the house. My dad, in his last years, I stayed there to take care of him, and I put up some little, I guess you'd call baby monitor cameras that would had motion sensors, night vision, that would snap pictures whenever the motion detection would go off. But I'd be in my room messing around on my computer or something, and I'd hear a big thud, and I'd say, "Oh God, he's fell down." I'd get up and run into the next room. He's asleep, laying there asleep. I'd wake him up, "Daddy, are you okay?" "Yeah." I said, "But I felt the house shake, from the thud. I thought you fell and hurt yourself." I said, "I ain't got out of bed." You'd hear whispers. You'd be sitting there watching a movie or something, and all of a sudden this just whispers. You'd see shadows moving around. The motion detection would pick up orbs all the time. I had it connected to my phone, and my phone would just constantly go off, to the point where I finally
You showed me some pictures of some orbs one time that were occurring in your home.
It had happened so often, I had to finally just cut it off on my phone to where it wouldn't notify me because it was going off so often. And you'd never see anything during the day. It was always at night. I've heard cars pull up in the yard, get up and run outside, and there's nothing there. It's anything you can figure going on has happened in there.
What was the history in the house? Because I know your father brought in a lot of paranormal activity, but is there any related history that might also explain some of this going on?
Well, before my dad bought the house, the people that were previously there was a man and a woman who had got into an argument. The gentleman had shot at the woman a couple of times, and she screamed and fell to the floor. He thought he had shot her and killed her, so he turned the gun on himself in the kitchen and shot himself in the kitchen, killing himself right there in the kitchen. My dad, bought the house from the family because it was kind of connected to our family also. Right. And he actually bought the house and the land just for the taxes.
Right.
Because they wanted to get rid of the house. And so he got it for, really cheap. So you had all that going on that whole time.
Right.
Then in 2000, my mother passed away inside the house.
Right.
So you could still feel presence there the whole time. Like I said, you could hear the footprints, hear thuds. The activity in that house is wild, but it was nothing that felt evil.
Right.
You know, it's never anything that felt like it was a threat.
Right.
Because, I mean, I never was scared of it. You could, like I say, you could hear the footsteps, you could hear stuff move around, you
Right.
could see stuff move around sometimes. But I think the one time that I did get scared in the house is I'd fell asleep taking a nap in a recliner, and the girl I was dating at the time had called me on the phone, and when I woke up to answer the phone, there was a shadow figure standing over me watching me.
Right.
And I think that was about the scaredest that I've been in the house the whole time. And that made my heart race, the hair on my neck stand up. Because, I mean, it's clearly a shadow figure standing over me, watching me sleep. And I feel like if it would have been anything evil, I mean, it would have done what it would have done. But I think it was just, you know, a spirit watching me. But
Right.
nonetheless, it's a little disturbing to wake up and see, you know, a shadow figure standing over you, watching you while you sleep.
I had a white figure standing over me one time and touched me, and everybody when it woke me up, everybody thought I was dreaming until the guy sleeping across the bunk room said, no, there was something standing there. So yeah, I feel you on that.
Yes, it'll jar you into reality when you wake up and see that.
Very quickly.
But you know, when I was a child, I guess I was 9, 10 years old. I'm sleeping on the couch, and my brother's 9 years older than me, and I'm laying there on the couch. It's after midnight. It's in the middle of the night. And I hear footsteps just clear as day. I mean, just walk right up to the head of the couch and stop.
There's somebody's checking up on you.
And I'm like, you know, I'm telling my brother, you know, go away, leave me alone. I'm trying to sleep. You know, come on, dude, leave me alone. I click the lights on. There's nothing there. You didn't hear nothing walk away, but you heard it walk right up to
Right.
you. And you know, I was at the age where at that point in time, I ran, jumped into bed with my parents. I'm like, oh, no. So, but the house has always been that way.
Right.
I mean, I would have given anything for, you know, a professional, you know, paranormal investigation team to come in there, because I'm positively 100% sure they would have found, you know, they would have been able to
found some good
record a lot of good evidence. But it's sold now, and I think the people that bought it's gonna just bulldoze it, and it's pretty much gone. But I've got, you know, a few $1,000s worth of equipment, and I've done investigations in there, and the EMF meters go crazy.
What was the highest reading you ever got?
Hmm?
What was the highest reading you ever got, if you can remember?
I can't remember right off the top of my head, but it was spiking pretty good. It was the highest reading I've got anywhere that I've gotten. And it was in the room where my mom had passed away.
Uh-huh.
Is the highest reading I've ever got in the house. I mean, I've got some readings in other rooms, but that room right there in particular was the highest reading I ever got. Then, you know, when we put in the motion detection cameras and everything, that's when I started capturing orbs.
Right.
Just constantly capturing
There's
orbs.
more than one, I believe you told me there's.
Oh yes. They, you know, the time my dad was alive and still pretty well, you'd see orbs in there, but
Right.
when he started to get sick and his health was deteriorating, you'd start seeing more.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't just see one or two, you'd see 4 or 5.
You think your dad was sensitive too before his starting to get in a decline?
Honestly, no. Actually, I think it was his family or loved ones
Mm-hmm.
coming to get him.
Okay. That's a common
honestly,
thing.
in my heart, believe they were coming to get him because a couple of years before he passed away,
Uh-huh,
he had told me he saw his dad standing at the door
right,
of the house, and that's before he ever got sick.
right.
And he said it was weird, you know, I'm sitting here in my chair and there's my dad, who'd been dead for 40 years, standing at the door, you know, talking to him.
Yeah,
Right.
I've heard stuff like that happen
And,
to people before.
Then another time he told me his brother, and this was just a couple of years before he passed away, he said his brother, he saw his brother coming through the house with a couple of people with him and said, you know, come on EJ, let's go. They said, no, I think I'll stay here for a little while longer. So, I mean, I think they were coming for him.
Right.
You know, I think that, you know, they were ready, you know,
Yeah.
for him to come home. But when he went to the hospital, they had told me that he was having delirium because he was seeing things. You know,
Right.
he was telling me he saw mom, he saw people trying to come in the
That's
door.
what we talked about in the last episode about people that have been certified insane because they hear voices or see things. And we talked about the veil, how it thins sometimes when people die,
Yes.
and not taking into account this is a possibility that these people are more susceptible. They may not be dying, but when people are dying, things occur.
Yes, and I also think that maybe they can see what's on the other side. That that we're living in different dimensions. And
When you
we,
get to that point where, you know, and we've talked about this before, you know when your time is coming, you know, your mind probably opens a lot more than it is as we are right now, you know.
Yeah,
yeah,
Because
yeah.
right now we're in the, you know, I don't want to say survival mode, but we're in the everyday, you know, we've got to work, got to pay the bills, got to do this, got to do that, you know, all that takes up so much space and so much time in our minds that when it comes to that last, your mind sort of clears of all that other stuff. 'Cause
we're not
there's
preoccupied anymore.
Exactly. There's no reason to worry about any of that
Well,
stuff.
that, and then there's other
Yeah.
people that just their mind is closed to it altogether. They don't even want to think about it.
Well, you know, I've heard people talk about their, you know, or not people talk about it, but relatives of people who were, you know, right there when their loved ones passed on, saying that those loved ones would say stuff like, "My mind is totally clear now. My mind's cleared up," and you know, just the things that you would probably see
Or they
or be
start talking
susceptible
about
to.
family and
Yeah.
friends that are waiting there for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's a common thread right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, and like I said, you know, the hospital said that he had delirium because he was seeing things, and they sent him home, said it was dehydration. So I'm taking care of him and giving him water, giving him fluids, and taking care of him. But he's steadily declining the whole
Right.
time. But the time that he come back from the hospital, the motion detector was still going off, and I look in it, and never before have I ever seen as many orbs. I really wish I would have took pictures of that or took video of that. But I mean, there were literally hundreds of orbs. I mean, it was like the whole room was filled with them. And once he went back to the hospital, there's nothing. The motion detectors never went off. You never saw anything in the room anymore, and it was crazy.
Did your dad come from a big family? I don't mean to
Yes,
interrupt.
yes.
So
yes.
that probably explained possibly the number of orbs, because like my stepfather had 25 brothers and sisters, I think it was. And
Yeah,
if
his
your dad,
family wasn't that big, but
like anything over 4 is big nowadays.
yeah,
Now,
it really is.
especially
I mean,
nowadays.
you know, he had like 4 brothers and 2 sisters.
Yeah, it's a pretty good size
Then
there.
he had 2 siblings that died during their child while they were children. One of them died like at a year old.
So he had
from
about 10 brothers and
malnutrition.
sisters then.
And yeah, and then another one was burned up in a fire. The back in those days, it was like in the 1930s, 40s, and we all lived in the mountains anyway, and
Right.
they've got the baby on a little rug beside the heater in a spark from the fire popped out and burned up the rug and burned up the baby.
Well, you said you've done a lot of investigating in that house before, or whenever you got to that point where you're like, okay, something's going on. I need to start looking into this. And we've talked about things like ley lines and things like that.
Yeah.
Did you ever look into that and see if there was anything like that around? Any kind of those, I guess, conduits would be a good,
Conduits, conversion points.
ley lines and stuff like that. Which conversion points?
Not really. Never really looked into anything like that.
That's something you could probably still check on because
Yeah.
you don't have to have the house or where it's at. That's something that you could check, see if there, because I have heard that's
A lot of activity.
there's
do-
activity in other places, but usually where there's something like that, there's a lot of activity. And you've described a whole lot of activity. I would
Well,
just
one
love to know
thing
if
I
there's
do
something
know
close there.
is that it was Indian ground.
Well,
there's the clincher.
Because when we first got the property and my dad plowed up and plowed up a garden, we found Indian arrowheads out there, just authentic Indian arrowheads all over the place.
that does.
That would be a
Yeah.
big factor.
And it's right in the middle of what used to be Cherokee Nation.
Okay.
But
Does your family have any Native American blood in it?
not really, we were all English. I mean, there
Okay.
probably was somewhere down the line.
Because I'm wondering if you had some
I
possibility.
think on my mother's side that somebody may have had some Cherokee.
Okay.
But for the most part, everybody on my dad's side was all pretty much English. I don't know if they had any. I mean, once when I was tracing the family tree back, once you get to Glassy Mountain and in the 20s and teens, it's pretty well nothing. I mean, you have to
Okay.
go all the way back over here and trace all the way back up because up there in the mountains they were shooting out and fighting and killing. You don't know how many kids. I mean, I had one family member that had 22 children.
Yeah.
And then this person was married to this person, and this person had this person's kid. It got so confusing up
I can
there.
see a lot of possibilities for family just from that statement alone for the number of orbs that may have been showing up for your dad.
Well, that and the place that we live was probably one of the most deadliest stretches of Highway 14 in Greer, period.
So you got a combination of factors that make a
Oh,
nice
yes,
little storm
so
for supernatural.
So many factors. You can't really count how many people have died in my lifetime.
Right.
That I could probably count 20 or more people that have died on that stretch road within a quarter of a mile from my house that have died in car wrecks right there.
Uh-huh.
So, the activity up and down that road is just phenomenal anyway. Then you have the graveyard that's right down the road, that's across the street from the restaurant. That's the first place I ever seen an actual apparition.
You know how old that graveyard was?
Oh, that graveyard's hundreds of years old. The name of the graveyard was Mosteller Graveyard.
I've heard of it.
And it's right beside, across the street from Lakeview Steakhouse up on a hill. And I mean, there's so many graves up there. There's nothing but rocks. So I mean, you have no earthly idea, and there's no church around. I mean, so, and that's just the way it was back in those days. I mean,
Right.
like most of my family were on Glassy Mountain. I can go up on Glassy Mountain right now and show you a half a dozen places where cemeteries were. There's probably houses there now that they didn't even think about it because it was just rocks that they just plopped down in the ground and made cemeteries out of. And if it wasn't documented as a cemetery, then it's not illegal.
Sounds like what was the name of that movie?
Poltergeist.
Poltergeist?
Yeah.
Nice.
Exactly what I was thinking when he was sitting there
Yeah.
describing it.
I'm thinking
The-
Poltergeist.
The
You
one
just
thing
moved
that
the headstones.
The one thing that was crazy though is when my brother was up in New York, he used to drive a tractor trailer, and he went to the Amityville Horror House, and he took several pictures of it, and he actually took and chipped some paint off the house and put it into a cigarette wrapper, and brought all of it home.
Did the activity increase?
Oh, exponentially.
Probably wasn't too
One of the
smart of
doors,
them
and
to
this
do.
is what was really weird, is one of the doors in the house actually kind of bulged out in kind of an oval shape.
Portal.
Yes, and at that time, I mean, it you could tell a little bit of not so favorable activity.
Right.
And then we couldn't, for the longest time, I mean, till today, we've never found the paint chips that were in the cigarette foil.
Mm-hmm.
We never found those. We only found like one of the pictures of the Amityville Horror House. And you watch a lot of documentaries on that, and you hear people say, "Oh, that was made up. That was made up." Well, you might make up a lot of stuff, but I don't think I'm going to leave every possession I have in a home that I just spent my last dollar on, and
Yeah.
just leave because I'm making something up because I want to make money in the future. I mean,
Right.
Yeah, that's kind
that's
of
just not something that I would do.
a sketchy little way to get an investment back.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
So, but yeah, I believe there's spirits, and I think spirits are attracted to other spirits. So where spirits are, if there's a car wreck in front of the house, and those people their spirits are there and not at peace, well, they see spirits here, so they're kind of attracted, and the energy,
Have a
kind of
little
comes
convention.
together. So, I mean, there was a lot of activity there. Like I say, I would have gave money for one of the big investigation teams, like, the Ghost Adventurers, to come in there and actually do an investigation. I think they would have lost their minds.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any of it was evil. I think it would have been. I think they would have bought the house and the property and everything. I think they had used it as a museum. But it is what it is. It's over and done with now. But the video that I got on YouTube that I showed you, which brought me to where I am here, was I've videotaped and I've took pictures of orbs for years. I've never seen anything like that in my life.
Right.
It was so bright, and nothing else was illuminated around it. I mean, when I first saw it, I thought, oh my God, somebody's shining a flashlight in the room and they're getting ready to come in.
Mm-hmm. So
I come running into the room, I'm bringing my pistol, I'm thinking somebody's, messing around outside the house. Don't see anything outside. Come back in and review the video again, and I was like, oh my God, you could see as I walk in the door, this orb just kind of go up out of the screen.
A
Did you
friend of
send-
ours, Anthony, sent us
No, that wasn't Anthony. That come from Mark.
Mark, okay, one of our fans sent D.A. Roberts a picture of an orb coming into the picture frame and moving around. And I looked at it, blew it up, and I said, dude, this is an orb. It's not swamp gas. It's not a drone. You got a freaking orb here. And it's a wild picture to see, and the whole thing. I mean, it's, just thinking about it now is giving me a little bit of chills. It's just, it was an actual orb, and I know what you're talking about from just seeing that picture, that video in the picture.
Yeah, and this video is just wild because, I mean, its movements were so precise.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
what
it wasn't like
And it wasn't this.
It wasn't like a fly or
Did you have like a gaseous trail with it? Because this orb we looked at had like a gaseous.
if you watch that video, you could actually see that trail.
Mm-hmm.
And then on this end, another orb would come. When the video starts, it's actually two orbs, and then this one goes away. And then later in the video, you see this orb light back up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like they're connected.
Wow.
And they're moving at the same. But I've never seen anything like that in my life. I've got another video where after I come in and looked around, I cut the lights back off, and I'm standing in the room, and I cannot physically see whatever this is, but it's right there beside me. and I'm actually looking at it on my phone
Right.
through the app, through the night vision cameras, and I'm looking at it and I see it right here beside me.
Well, that's like with the last show when we were talking to Tori about her misadventures at Ridge Church. There were a lot of orbs in there, and one of the pictures of one of her friends had a red glow in front of him that there was no outside light that could have caused this. It looked like a saxophone, I think you said, right?
Yeah.
That's what it looked like, was somebody
Yeah, I
holding a
think I saw
saxophone.
that picture where it looked like a saxophone.
And it's amazing what we can't see with our human eye, like we've talked about even after show. We were talking about just being able to see, not hear, but yet we have instruments that pick up the stuff that's occurring.
Oh, yes. But that's what got me into it, and you know, that's what brought me here to where I'm at today. And I've been looking and trying to get a group together, you know, to do more investigations and go to different places that you hear about all the time, and spend a lot of the money I've got to get equipment to do these the right way.
Well, I'm hoping that you'll join us on some of our future
Yeah.
adventures.
Oh, yes.
I think I found two goofballs that'll probably go
Yeah.
just about anywhere.
Well, I mean,
Try
y'all,
just-
y'all do the Bigfoot hunting, and that's what I want
Yeah.
to go do something about, so
we
that I can't stand
definitely
it.
gonna do some more Bigfoot investigations. I
But
want to
there-
go back up to our spot again.
Yep.
I
We're
really
waiting to
wanna-
hear from somebody else about a sighting up in Greer.
But you know, and that's something that ever since I've started this podcast, you know, Norman and Johnny came on a little bit after I'd gotten started. Tyler, our technical person's been with me since I started, and that's something that I've always said. And he can, you know, if he had a microphone, he could tell you. He's shaking his head, yeah. But that's something when I started this, that's what I wanted to do, was not just get typecast into or pigeonholed, or however you want to look at it, just Bigfoot or just Dogman, or just that. I wanted to, you know,
Be open-minded.
because
Yeah.
whether or not, because I've never had a paranormal experience, but you may have never had a Bigfoot experience. So how can I sit here and say that Bigfoot's real, and then turn around and look at you and say what you're saying is not real? I mean, it's the same thing. Just because I haven't had that, that's when I look at people who look at me because I'm crazy about Bigfoot. You know, I go back to
That
little
you weren't
analogy.
there when it scared the pants
little-
off.
Yeah,
The little
exactly.
analogy that I use is if I draw a circle on this table that's about that big, and I say, okay, that little circle represents everything that is possible to be known within the entire universe. How big of a circle would you draw for what you know inside that one circle that encompasses everything? It'd be pretty small, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah.
So how can you say, and you by meaning anybody, how can you say that little bit that you know inside of everything else, that you know everything there is to know, and then you can say that orbs don't exist, or Bigfoot doesn't exist, or the Dogman don't exist? You know, you have to have an open mind. I mean, we've talked about that on our show. We've talked about that on DAX Machina. You know, once you see these things, and whether it be orbs and paranormal things, supernatural, or whether it be Bigfoot, Dogman, whatever these encounters you have, once you see that, once your mind flips,
The door opens.
you can't close it.
Well, you know, that's when I got into doing the paranormal investigation. I mean, Bigfoot was another thing. You know, I said anything that's out of the norm is what I want to investigate.
Right.
Yeah.
That, you know, I don't want to be just stuck to just this.
Well,
Typecast.
it's like
Yes.
like my chief says all the time. You know, not everybody in the department can be a ticket writer. Not everybody in the department likes to work wrecks. Not everybody likes to do this. Everybody's got to have their strong points. You know, and Norman and I talked about this when we first got. I'm like, look, I don't know anything about the paranormal, but that's his specialty. Obviously, it's your specialty too. I'm the Bigfoot guy. That's what brought me to the dance.
Well, the one thing that I don't know anything about that's always interested me, and my dad has said that he had an encounter when he was living. He said years ago he had an encounter, was UFOs.
I
UFOs is one thing
five.
I've always wanted to, never seen one.
Yeah, I think
But-
Tyler's had
but-
some UFO
Him-
encounters.
him-
Tyler
said-
talk on his.
And he described it perfectly. And my mom, separately, neither one of them have ever lied to me about anything. And I mean, separately, they've told me the same story. That, they come up to a stop sign at the time now is a red light, but they come up to that stop sign and they see it right over the intersection. And they're flabbergasted. And my dad looks over at my mom, do you see that? And she said, yes. And she reaches back to get the camera, and when she turns around, it's gone.
Yeah.
That quick. And I said, that's why I said I never wanted to be stuck to
In
one
one
thing.
job, in
I mean,
one
I've heard the
job.
Bigfoot stories up around the Blue Ridge area. And I said, I've actually seen the plaster cast that they took before they built Lake Robinson. It was in that area. And
Well, if we'd had some plaster Paris, you'd have seen one that we took, but
I gotta go find some again.
Yeah.
My Amazon failed me.
he didn't make it that day, or he got there a little bit later. But Johnny and I went up there. We actually found tracks.
And see,
I
that's
wish
the
we
greatest
could've-
thing about having multiple people coming together, because I can go on an investigation with you and have an experience that I've never experienced, or you could go on an investigation with us and see, the EMF meters go crazy, or hear something on the spirit box,
I get that feeling.
or have that feeling where the temperature just drops around you or increases. Most of the time it's usually going to drop around you, and it could be 80 degrees outside, and you're sitting here with cold chills going,
Yeah.
God, why did I leave my coat in the car? So I mean, it's great to get to experience all of that, because so many people now are so close-minded to anything. All they care about is how much money can I make and what am I going to buy next.
And what's on TikTok?
Yeah,
What's
that's
on
true.
TikTok? What's on
What's
Facebook
TikToking?
or YouTube? And
Well, we can't knock YouTube because that's where we go.
well,
Yeah.
well, I mean that
Come
was
to
always
YouTube and see
my
what's going
goal
on our channel,
Is I've always wanted to do an investigation and do it live,
Right.
where you see all these other people that they manufacture, and not all of them do, but
Well-
you see some that manufacture stuff.
Yeah.
Like they have somebody off here to the side throwing something or doing something.
Between us here, DA, Doc, Anthony, Steve, between all of us, we've got a lot of good places
Oh, yeah.
all the way up to Colorado that
We
can.
have a friend up in Virginia named William Nighthawk.
Yeah, William.
Who has a variety of phenomenon happening on his property. He's
I
a
want to
Native
go up to
American
Williams.
shaman.
I want to go up to Williams and have a dogman experience.
I do too.
That's what I want to do.
Oh, well,
And most
they've
people
got
would
that
be
down in
saying-
Alabama too.
Yeah. If I have a dogman experience though, I want William to be there though.
And a lot of firepower.
Well, that too, but I want William to be there if I have a
Yeah.
dogman
I'm
experience.
gonna be honest with you. If I have that experience, I want to have some tissue or something close,
True.
because I'm
And
pretty
also,
sure
I
I'm in the
wouldn't
soil.
mind going up to- wouldn't mind going up to Alaska and getting with Fred because he's got really phenomenal Bigfoot stuff going on up
I
there.
want to go see this incident that Anthony was talking about.
Yeah, Anthony's got some
That
some
has
friends
a
of his
serious.
got a serious problem. Matter of fact, we've talked off camera about seriously getting a group down there to see if we can do it because they're out of his. They're
Out of control.
yeah. These guys are like at their wits' end. But anyway, Terry, that was a great.
Oh
Great
yeah, I had a
episode.
blast.
Terry, I want to tell you thanks for coming tonight.
No
and
problem.
Sharing your stories with me previously. And this is why I wanted you to come out, meet with us, talk with us, and hopefully become part of the team.
Oh yes, I'd love to do that. I mean, I'd love to go on some investigations with you.
I think you're going to find a nice home and a thing to keep you busy.
Oh yeah.
You
Yeah,
forget
we're-
about girlfriends.
I don't care about that anyway.
I don't think any of us do. Well, Johnny maybe.
Johnny.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
different story.
That's
And
that's
Tyler,
the
but,
biggest
yeah.
paranormal for me anyway.
But Tyler has to keep caring about his girlfriend though.
Bless him.
Tyler's dating my daughter, so
Ah.
yeah,
Then he has to stay
yeah,
straight.
he's passing the test. Though,
There
so
you
far.
go.
He's a good guy.
We got a good sound
Yeah.
man. For
He's trusted enough that Robbie's loaned him a firearm even.
Wow, that's trust.
Hey, somebody had to protect my daughter while I was up there
That's true.
looking around that cave.
And look about Silver Eagle next time.
Yeah. So, but anyway, that being said, if anybody out there's got anything they want us to investigate, want us to look into, you know, now we've got possibly 2 new members to the team.
Yeah.
You can get in touch with us at What's Really Out There 2022. That's What's Really Out There 2022. All together, no apostrophes or anything like that, at gmail.com. We'd love to hear from people. I mean, that's how I got in touch with Norman. That's how I met up with Terry. You know, we're in the upstate, but we're not held to the upstate. If you got something, you know, anywhere
It's worth
around,
the road trip.
yeah. If we can make it happen, we'd love to investigate anything anybody's got. We've got our team's growing. We've also got, you know, DA and Doc and Anthony and William. That
We have a
are
lot of connections.
Yeah.
A lot of
connected
people that we're
from
meeting.
Colorado, Missouri. I'll get it out in a minute.
Missouri.
Florida, Virginia,
Yeah. South
Alaska.
Carolina.
We've got contacts all over the place. So if we've got to go to one of those states, we've got boots on the ground in those locations already. So yeah, if you got something, hit us up. And Terry, we hope you come back. We enjoyed
I'd
having
love
you.
to.
Would look forward to you in the future and some of these future events that we're going to be doing together.
No, definitely. Definitely.
All right, Norman, you got anything else?
I just want to tell Terry, thanks for coming tonight.
We'll tell
Glad-
Tori thank you too, even though she wasn't here for this one.
Looking forward to y'all being part of the team and all that, and being able to see things from another point of view, which is always important. If you have more than one point of view or observation, this helps build credible data, and that's always a great thing because you're bringing something more to the team that somebody else may not already have.
Well, and we've said that many times before, Norman. You know, data is data, no matter what. Even
Exactly.
with some of that evidence that we found that didn't turn out the way we wanted it to, but
Hey,
we know what that is now. We know what to look for. If we see that again, we know what it is.
right. We'll just
So-
have to look a little higher next
Yeah,
time.
but you know that someone said
Hey,
all
don't
data
know
is,
until you try it.
all data is good data.
Exactly.
If you're getting information and you're getting out there and getting in the woods and getting in these places like Ridge Church and things like that, you know, number one, you're getting out of the house. You're doing something constructive and creative.
We're also providing a service, in a sense, by the information that we do gain and the experience we have, we share, so that somebody else that has been holding something deep and dark to themselves will have an outlet, at least to turn to us or a member of the team and share and get it off their chest, especially if it weighs heavily upon them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because especially the profession that we do, stuff like that bothers you. But just for going back to what we were talking about, folks, if you're going out, make sure, you know, we say this on DAX Machina, we're going to start saying, you know, being rented here on this show. If you're going out and you're getting in the woods, you're investigating, doing whatever, even if you're just going out, you know, camping, make sure you tell somebody where you're going, somebody that's not going with you.
Try to take a partner.
Yeah, take a partner, but also make sure somebody knows where you're going, knows when you're coming back. That way, if something happens and you don't get back in time, somebody knows. A lot of times, cell phones get out there when we go investigate.
We can't get no
We
signal.
don't get any signal. So make sure somebody knows where you're at. Take yourself a pack, you know, space blankets, firearms if you're. Yeah, I know not everybody is, you know, firearm
Food,
friendly, but
a little bit of water, some trail
blades,
snack. or
water, those life straws. You know, we are big supporters on this channel of Dark Angel Medical.
something. First aid kits.
First aid kits. Doc makes some of the best first aid kits around. He's got a kit for life guarantee, meaning if you use your kit to save your life or somebody else's life, and you send everything back to Doc, not the used parts obviously, but the unused portion, he'll inspect it, repack it, and send it back to you. You're not gonna find a better guarantee than that. Really reasonable price. He's got a kit for just about everything that you could possibly think of. And while we're on the shameless plugs of people who are not sponsors but just friends of ours, go check out DA's books. He's working on the newest Wild Hunt book now. He just had
Man's Marauders just released
Man's
his
Marauders
third
just
book
came
in
out.
science fiction series.
very, very good book. Go check that out. I believe that's available on Amazon and Kindle.
Kindle and paperback.
And that's our shameless plug for tonight. So we're going to go ahead and end this episode. Terry, thanks for joining us.
Look forward to seeing you again.
All right. All right, guys. We'll see you next time at the cabin. Thanks.